Hey guys, welcome back to Top Tier Sports. I'm Victor. It's Thursday. You know what that means. It's time for some NFL. So here's how it's going to go down from here on out. We have our board here with all the games and matchups of the week. We're going to go through a recap of just all the big news within the past week, any big games that stuck out to us, any huge upsets, and then after covering the last week's games, any big highlights and news, we will jump in to Vic's picks. I will go through every single pick of the week. I will say who I think will win. This is just flat out. I'm not caring about spread. I'm caring about who is walking away with the W at the end of the day. We're also going to have one lock of the week where I will guarantee for whoever is putting money down on these that this team will come out winner no matter what. And we also are going to highlight our games to watch for whatever game I think will stand out as either a really good game or possibly maybe an upset alert, something along those lines. I'll try and do a 1 o'clock and a 4 o'clock for each week. However, it's going to come down to, in the end, the two biggest games that I think will take the spotlight as something people want to keep an eye out for. So with that, week one of the NFL, not what we expected for sure at times. It kicked off with Green Bay in Chicago for the opening Thursday night game. Chicago walked away with the L in their home field. It was tough for them. Definitely didn't expect Green Bay to go in there and win like that. I expect a lot more out of Chicago's offense. I know they lost Jordan Howard, but still. We also watched Baltimore absolutely blow away Miami. 59-10, I believe, was the final. Don't quote me on that. But still, they walked away with what is now a franchise record for points for the Ravens, so congrats to them. Always fun for your fans whenever you're blowing them out. And one last blowout that happened at the end of the week was the Sunday night game. The Patriots blew out my Steelers, and it was sad. All around to watch, 30-point loss. It was a rough one. So definitely looking for a bounce back for Pittsburgh going into this week, and this was impressive showing for New England. Not that we expected anything less, considering they will be adding Antonio Brown back into their roster. We're not going to get into his drama. Check out our AB saga that Spencer and I recorded here on Top Tier Sports. Goes into his background, his story up until everything, and not including the new allegations that were just released as it was filmed earlier this week. So, last thing, congrats to all the rookies who had a great first week. Marquise Brown, aka Hollywood, he's Antonio Brown's cousin, had 4 catches, over 150 yards, the touchdowns. It was incredible. That was part of Baltimore's blowout win. Josh Jacobs had a great rookie game. Congrats to all the defenders out there. I'm very sorry, Jonathan Abram, the rookie safety for the Oakland Raiders, as he actually will most likely be needing surgery and be out for the rest of the season. So you hate to see it always when injuries happen. So we'll see if the Raiders can bounce back from that. With that, time to get into this week's picks. So I'm just going to go through, again, highlight as we go, starting with the Thursday night game, working all the way through the Monday night. Thursday night, we have Tampa Bay in Carolina. I have Carolina walking out of that one victorious. I don't see any way in which Tampa Bay's offense can keep up. This is a Panthers team that at home almost upset the Rams. They stayed with them the whole game. I like Carolina here. I think their offense really comes out, and we'll see how they do. Next, we got Buffalo at the New York Giants. I love Buffalo to go in here into New York, or the other side of New York, come out with a win. They made their comeback versus the Jets last week. I think that this is just the start of what could be a actually decent season for the Bills Mafia. The Giants did not look impressive to me. They basically have Saquon Barkley, a couple other weapons. I don't see Eli Manning or Daniel Jones getting the job done, and neither is that defense. Buffalo wins on the road. Next, we have San Francisco heading to Cincinnati. Cincinnati actually put up quite a fight last week against the Seahawks. I was not ready for that. The Seahawks were actually my lock of the week last week, so they scared me a little bit, thinking my first ever lock was going to be a bust. However, I have San Francisco going into Cincinnati, coming out with a win. They had a very scary win for them, I would say, because it wasn't the strongest showing versus Tampa Bay. I think they will get their stuff together a little bit. I don't think Cincinnati is quite where it needs to be just yet to actually walk away with a win. We'll see how they come out in week 3. We got Dallas at Washington. Washington put up quite a fight against Philly last week. Wasn't expecting that either. Dallas won pretty safely against the Giants last week. I expect them to go 2-0 in the first 2 weeks versus their divisional opponents. I think they will handle the Redskins pretty easily here, despite what Case Keenum can find ways to do. Next, we have the Chargers at the Lions. This is actually a big game. In my mind, not necessarily one of my 2 games to watch for the week, but we saw what the Chargers could do without Melvin Gordon, and in the first game without him, Austin Eckler stepped up big, especially in the receiving game, got a couple touchdowns. And I actually like, even though the Lions managed to tie the Cardinals, I like the Chargers to go into Detroit, come out, start 2-0, and Lions take their first loss of the season, again, after they walked away with the tie versus the Cardinals. That will be a whole separate issue, especially if we have another tie this week. We will talk about more in week 3. Next game, we got Minnesota at Green Bay. I like the Vikings to go in. They handled the Falcons pretty well. Green Bay did not look crazy impressive versus Chicago. I think the Vikings, in a close game, will handle them and come out 2-0. Green Bay takes their first loss. Unfortunately for them, it's at home. Indianapolis at Tennessee. Andrew Luck owns the Titans. However, as sad as it is, the Colts have had to move on, and nobody else owns the Titans like he did. I have the Titans winning this one at home. I don't think this Colts team has proven everything they need to yet, and I think they're on a mission here. However, I just, especially after watching them play the Browns week 1, I think the Titans will stay on that momentum train and just bring home another win. Arizona at Baltimore. I was very impressed with Kyler Murray the end of last week in his comeback, not necessarily the first half or even the first 3 quarters, but that fourth quarter, very impressive Kyler. Baltimore, too good of a team right now, especially if Lamar Jackson is able to throw like he did week 1. That was against Miami. I'm not all aboard the hype train yet. It was very impressive. This Baltimore team is still a threat to anybody they play, and we'll see if Lamar Jackson can have another good passing game against a slightly better defense. That's the first half of the games for the week. We got Seattle at Pittsburgh. This one's tough. I'm taking Pittsburgh at home. They looked awful, I know. They looked awful, absolutely awful, against New England. And I expect them to really snap out of that. And especially now that they're back at home, they need a win. They need to get themselves going. Seattle didn't play amazing versus Cincinnati, so I think Pittsburgh will be able to take them. Jacksonville at Houston. This would have been a great game if Nick Foles didn't get injured already week 1. And I have Houston here. They almost pulled off the win versus New Orleans last week. So I think that they'll be able to really go in and at home handle the Jaguars pretty easily. I know Jalen Ramsey's a threat, but him and DeAndre Hopkins, even if you take both of them out, I really like Houston in this matchup. New England at Miami. This is one of my games to watch for the week, and here's why. New England, by far one of the best teams in the league, if not the best team, already this year. However, Miami, one of the worst teams. However, 5 of the past 6 years, even though New England has been a dynasty, when they go to Miami, they end up losing. 5 of the past 6 years. Doesn't matter what week it is. Doesn't matter what the team's records are at the time. Somehow Miami seems to handle New England. Their team isn't usually this bad. I am going with New England, but that is my game to watch because even last year, I didn't expect Miami to pull off a win, and then there was the Miami Miracle. So we'll see if they can do another one. We're going to skip over Kansas City at Oakland, Chicago at Denver. Denver, sad loss to the Oakland Raiders in the first week of the season. Monday Night Football, the last game of the week. Chicago, again, kind of a sad game for them at home. Lost to Green Bay in the very first game of the week. I think Chicago really gets their shit together here. I don't think Denver will be able to do much against that Chicago defense. I have this one as a solid win for Chicago. The Saints at the Rams. This is my other game to watch. It's a rematch of the NFC Conference Championship. We all know how it went down. It was the game that led to the rule change about being able to challenge pass interference. I talked about before, Saints, there's no excuses now. This is your rematch game. However, the Rams walked away with a win last time, whether they should have or not, and that was in New Orleans. Both teams are 1-0, but I have the Rams winning at home. Just with that home field advantage, I think it'll be the extra little push that they need. We'll see how it goes. Will Lutz, Drew Brees, incredible ending of the game this past week. I still think he'll be amazing on the season. This is one of New Orleans' few losses I have for them this year. Philly at Atlanta. Philly took a while to wake up, and Atlanta is still asleep, apparently, after watching week 1. I definitely think Atlanta will get their shit together a little bit. Definitely will get the offense going. But Philly is a team to compete this year. I have them winning, starting 2-0. Atlanta starts 0-2. We'll have to make some changes or really just take a deep look and see what they need to do going into future weeks after this one. The last game of the week, Monday Night Football, there's the Cleveland Browns at the New York Jets. Both these teams with sad losses this past week. The Jets blew their lead, lost by 1 point to the Bills. The Browns got absolutely murdered by the Titans. However, that being said, the Browns, in my eyes, are just much more dynamic offense than the Jets are. And on defense, I think it won't make too much of a difference. So I have the Browns getting their first win, Jets starting 0-2, which is always rough in that division because you're already basically playing for a wild card. Now, with that, I skipped over one game. We're jumping back to it right now. Kansas City at Oakland. Yes, both these teams are 1-0. Right now, Kansas City is only 7.5-point favorites going into this game. I don't care that they're on the road. I don't care that the Raiders won week 1. This is my lock of the week. I think it's absolutely bullshit that the Oakland Raiders are getting as much favoritism here as they are by only being down 8 points. The Kansas City Chiefs just handled the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, one of the best defenses in the league, if not possibly the best, depending who you talk to. The Chiefs are just such an impressive team. I think it is ridiculous what the spread's at. I think that Oakland needs to get over themselves real quick, and they will be absolutely massacred by the Chiefs this week. In my eyes, at least 2 touchdowns. We'll see how it plays out. But that is my lock of the week. You can book it. And with that, thanks for tuning in to Top Share Sports. So far, my overall record's 11-5 through 1 week. My lock picks are 1-0. Again, last week that was Seattle over Cincinnati. This week it is the Chiefs over the Raiders. We will see what happens after this. Go out there, place your picks. Let me know what you think. Thanks for tuning in to Top Share Sports on the Beer League Bench Talk.